With the price of petrol and diesel creeping up slowly over the last few years, many people have made the change, or at least thought about making the change, to hybrid vehicles. Firstly, to save cost, and secondly, to limit emissions. From Toyota to BMW and even Porsche, many manufacturers have now included hybrid cars in their ranges in line with this increased demand. That's why this video will be all about hybrids. We'll be running you through the different types of hybrid cars available, and we'll also be showing you some hybrid features that are used to boost efficiency using this Lexus CT200H that you see behind me. So stay tuned and we hope you enjoy. Okay guys, so we're going to kick this one off by explaining the different types of hybrids that are available and then how they work. So to start with, hybrid types. Number one is a full hybrid. Now, this is the most common type of hybrid car, and examples of full hybrids include the Toyota Prius and the Lexus CT200H that you're going to see shortly. Now the thing about full hybrids is that they can utilise both the electric motor and the internal combustion engine, which I'll refer to from here on out as just the engine. It's really efficient and works quite well by balancing both power sources depending on your driving style and what's really required, which is why it can be quite pricey. Moving on to the second main type of hybrid, and it's the mild hybrid. An example includes the Chevrolet Silverado. Now, mild hybrids predominantly draw their energy from the engine. They do have an electronic motor, of course, which is why they're a hybrid, but it's mostly used just to assist the engine. And the final main type of hybrid is the plug-in hybrid. No doubt you will have all heard of this because one of the most iconic hybrid cars in the world, the BMW i8, utilises this system. Essentially, it's the opposite of a mild hybrid. Yes, there's an electronic motor and an engine, but the plug-in draws its power mainly from the electronic motor where possible, which explains why drivers will have to stop every now and again and plug the car into the mains to charge up the battery because the battery is used more. So there you have it, there are the three main hybrid types. Moving on, we're going to talk about how hybrids actually work. There are a few different hybrid systems out there, and these are known as drivetrains. Today we're going to talk you through three common drivetrains, and we're going to use some diagrams for visual aid. I apologise in advance for my primary school level artistry. So anyway, here's a quick key that I've drawn up to reference different parts throughout the drawings. You have the engine, which is just a red square, the electric motor, which is a circle with EM written inside, the battery, which is a green rectangle with plus and minus on either side. Then we have the transmission, which is meant to look like a cog or gear or something along those lines, but it's actually turned out like a Pokemon, so apologies again. And finally, we have the power splitter, which is just an orange X. So let's get to it. The first type of drivetrain that we're going to run through is the series drivetrain. So you'll see there are some faint lines just on top of the car which we'll use as a kind of flowchart for the parts. Starting off then we have the battery and the engine. Both of these connect to the electric motor, and then there's the transmission in between the wheels. The thing with series drivetrains is that the transmission only receives mechanical power through the battery and not directly from the engine. Yes, the engine assists, but again it's directly through the electronic motor only, which then propels the car forward, as you can see by these arrows. So that's the series drivetrain. Number two is the parallel drivetrain. Again, you'll see these faint lines which we'll use to outline the parts. Starting off with the engine on top this time, the battery just beneath it. The electronic motor in between the two, leading to the transmission. Now again, you'll see that the power comes from the battery and the engine through the electronic motor to the transmission, and then that pushes the car forward. The key thing about the parallel drivetrain is that the majority of the power this time comes from the engine and not the battery. Therein lies the difference between series and parallel. It's the same difference between mild and full hybrids. One is more reliant on the electric motor and the other is more reliant on the engine. And finally, we're going to run you through, wait for it, the series parallel drivetrain. It doesn't get much more exciting than this. So the series parallel is a little bit more complex and it adds in an additional part. It starts off with a battery on the bottom and that then sends power to the electric motor, but this time the engine is on top and doesn't provide power directly to the electric motor. Why? Enter power splitter. This is arguably the most high-tech system because it allows the engine and the electric motor to provide power independently or together. The power splitter distinguishes between which power source is providing the push, sends that power to the transmission, and that then propels the car forward. So there you have it, the 3 types of drivetrains. Fallen asleep yet? You now know the main hybrid types and you know how hybrids work. So the next step is part 2. Just after I give my friend here some coggly eyes. Ooh, coggly instead of goggly for gears? No? Okay, moving swiftly on. So, now that you know about the different types of hybrid cars that are available, we're going to show you 3 ways in which they maximize efficiency using this Lexus CT200H. The reason why we wanted to get a Lexus CT into the video is because it has a load of features and visual aids that make it really easy to understand the whole hybrid process and how the engine and electric motor work together in this hugely popular full hybrid. So firstly, the CT lets you choose between one of 4 driving modes: Eco, Normal, Sport and EV mode. EV standing for electric vehicle. Depending on which driving mode you're in, Lexus have added these really funky LED lights around your speedometer. There's no light if you're in normal mode, a blue light if you're in eco mode, and an aggressive red light if you're in sport mode. And it's pretty cool that you can change the display to show either the rev counter or an eco tracker in normal. Additionally, there's this cool little screen just below the fuel gauge which tells you when the battery's charging, and it also shows you when the engine and or battery are in use. Nifty, eh? To use just the battery as the power source, just hit the EV button. So when I take my foot off the accelerator and the car isn't using energy from the engine to propel itself forward, that energy is instead used to charge the battery, as the screen shows here. Whilst the main monitor may not have the highest definition, it does give a clear breakdown of power usage. Here you see the regenerative braking that I was just talking about, where kinetic energy is transferred to power the battery when the car is slowing down. Now you can see the car in EV or Eco mode, where it's just the battery providing the power to propel the car forward. Here you see the engine and the battery working together, and now we're accelerating harshly in Sport, so you can see the engine is both pushing the car forward itself and providing power to the battery at the same time through the electric motor. Just nipping back to EV or Eco mode, it's worth mentioning that cars like this can only use the battery as a sole power source temporarily. The engine will automatically kick in a few different cases, like for example, if you accelerate quickly, if you start to go uphill, if you exceed 20 to 30 miles an hour, and of course if the battery gets too low, which is normally after about 10 to 20 minutes of driving in EV mode. As you've just seen here, the battery's gotten too low and the engine has kicked in to help out. As you can see, the CT has some really clear features that can help to understand the hybrid process. So there you have it. Hopefully now you know a bit more about hybrid vehicles than you did before. Yes, they're intelligently efficient, but does that warrant giving up the roar and aggression of an unassisted petrol engine? Let us know what you think in the comments below or on Twitter and Instagram. If you like this video, do not forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and as always feel free to visit leaselowdown.co.uk for more automotive content. See you next time.